right, so listen, so of course, the question come up, why name a book Impeccable? Like, what is this book about? Well, by definition, the word impeccable describes the behavior, the appearance, or the performance of something. So it made me think about, like right before I began writing it, this all derived from the book of Genesis, where God says, let us make man in our image and in our likeness. Here's the thing. You cannot be like someone and not truly be like them. So it got me to thinking, well, if I'm like God, if I'm made in his image, if I'm made in his likeness, and I'm like him, then I must really be like him. I'm not saying that I'm God by no stretch of the imagination. And I'm not saying that anyone that reads the book is going to come into some type of God style or form of themselves. But what I am saying is that there are attributes of God that are inside of us. And if we serve an impeccable God, then that means that we are impeccable too. As I started the process of putting this book together, I was literally leaving one city, flying into another. And as I got off of the plane and was, entering into the airport from the plane, I literally walked in and I saw a statue of a previous president. And on top of there, that's what they called him. They said, whoever the president was, he was impeccable. It's not saying that he was perfect or anything like that, but it's just that his behavior, his appearance, his performance, some things that he did were kind of unmatched or second to none. So if you think about impeccable, as I stated, it talks about the behavior, appearance, and the performance. So when we think about behavior, think about this. Put yourself into the situation. Think about your own children, or if you don't have children, think about some children that you know. All right? Children typically don't act out or behave a certain type of way until there's a situation that calls for it. Maybe they're hungry, maybe they're irritated. I don't know, maybe they're wanting their favorite toy, or I don't know, maybe they're not getting something that they want. But the fact of the matter is, it's the situation that warrants a behavior. So I think about Matthew 14, and you'll hear me talk about that a lot during these little videos. Matthew 14, we find where they have just finished, feeding the multitude. And Jesus tells them, hey, y'all, listen, let's mount up. Like Warren G would say, let's mount up and let's go to the other side. And so they're like, all right, let's go. So they bounce. They're going across the sea. And then the Bible talks about that they looked out on the water and they thought they saw a ghost. But of course, we know, as scripture tells us, that it was Jesus walking upon the water. So Peter, he's like, hey, look, I think it's Jesus, but Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come out there to you. So Jesus was like, bet, come on. That's Jesus's behavior, right? And that's just like the Jesus that I would expect him to be. One that tends to push us and kind of pull us out of our comfort zones to get us to do something that we typically would not do, right? That's his impeccable behavior. But here's the thing, Peter, he didn't realize he was impeccable, just like I'm sure most of us don't. Like, we don't realize just how impeccable we are until a situation warrants it. So he said, Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come out. All right, Jesus, come on. So he gets out the boat, and the Bible talks about him beginning to walk on the water. And listen, I'm pretty sure, I can only imagine though, that he was like starting to feel himself like, oh, I'm feeling myself. Hey, he probably was in that mode because something in him rose up in that moment. And in that occasion, in that instance, the impeccable one on the inside rose up. See, I believe that Jesus was like trying to get everybody to understand, because if you think about it later on in the Bible, he says, listen, I'm not going to be with you always. But he did let them know, hey, greater works that y'all going to do. He was always trying to get them to see beyond that place that they were in. And I'm pretty sure that there are people around you that see you, more than what you see yourself. But we don't feel that way, right? But I'm here to encourage you, to let you know that there's an impeccable one on the inside of you. And guess what? Jesus is doing the same thing to us that he did to Peter. We like, hey, Jesus, if it's you, let me start that business. Jesus like, bet. Come on. Jesus, if it's you, let me start that ministry. Jesus like, bet. Come on. Jesus, if it's you, let me make this dinner that's going to put me on a map to be one of the greatest chefs in the country. Jesus like, all right, bet. Come on. Jesus is just trying to get you to behave differently from what you have behaved before. It's a part of you. It's in your makeup. Like, it's who you are. And if I were you, like, I wouldn't be fighting against that. I want everyone to understand that takes a read of this book to get the fact that you were made in God's image and in his likeness. And if he's impeccable, guess what, fam? You are too. How are you going to behave the rest of 2020? In fact, how are you going to behave going into 21? Wait, hold up. How are you going to behave even in the years after? Because you got to think about that too. Because, see, we can't behave one way, and then once we get what we're behaving for, then we suddenly stop behaving that way. So, you got to think about that too. I want you to think about that as we continue on in the next, few days or so, as I talk with you guys about what it means to be impeccable. Because, fam, you are impeccable too. So am I. Till next time, peace.